Good morning and welcome back to another unboxing Saturday on Gaming with ADHD. Now, I do know it's been a while since I posted one of these videos, even though I have acquired a few new games over the last couple of months. But this one is kind of interesting to me. I was not planning on picking up this game. This is Arkham Horror 3rd Edition from Fantasy Flight Games. Now, I own Arkham Horror 2nd Edition and most of the expansions. I do not have the entire set, but I have most of it. And back when I would say I really started getting into board games, early 2004, 2005. I mean, I'd been into board games most of my life, but when I really started collecting, this Arkham Horror was one of the first games that I picked up. And I like the open-ended nature of the game. I like how it's kind of generic. You can set it up. It has a high replay value. And what I had heard and seen about 3rd edition didn't really grab my attention. But I will admit, a price tag of $25 compared to its regular price of about $70, I was willing to give it a chance. So, with that said, I do want to do an unboxing. I have not followed the game at all, so I'm not as familiar with what's going to be inside. But let's open it up, take a look, and, we'll go from there. So, obviously, we've got our cover here, implies some sort of otherworldly horror coming into Arkham. We've got our characters in the car here on the front. Definitely, has a great look and evokes a great feel, for the game. On the back, obviously, we've got our list of contents, pictures of what everything looks like. So let's go ahead and get the plastic wrap off. All right, so they do recommend player up to 6 players and advise that you will be playing about 2 to 3 hours. So looks fairly similar to the Arkham Horror that I am familiar with, but let's open it up and find out. All right, so right away we've got our Learn to Play booklet. Significantly smaller, I would say, than the original rule booklet. Now, this also is a little interesting because it's a bit of a change from how Fantasy Flight did rules in the past. Now they kind of do like here's a learn to play guide, and then they have a separate rules reference book, which we'll look at here in a second. So we've got our list of components, setup. Now this is one of the biggest changes. You have this modular setup. So these are your different zones. These are the travel spaces between them. And so it lets you set up the city differently, but I don't know. I don't know why a city would change its setup. But we've basically got our rules, explanations of different tokens, and the different phases. All right. Then we've got our rules reference. So this is going to be more of a consolidated reference. So we've got our quick reference here on the back. But then this is basically a rules encyclopedia is the best way to describe that. All right, that'll be interesting. All right, and as typical Fantasy Flight's bundle of cardboard. We've got 6 sheets. Out. Careful. Paper cut under the fingernail. That's always fantastic. Alright. Now, I do have to say the art on this is fantastic. Fantasy Flight has always done really good art, especially for the Arkham series. I've never been disappointed in the art. Okay, so this is interesting. We've got downtown and north side, so you do get a couple of different locations off of each of these. We've got all of our character tokens, clue tokens. I'm not sure what those are. We've got sanity and health tokens. Again, East Town on this side. And Miskatonic University on this one. Now, I will admit, on this art, I do like how it kind of gives I'd say a better impression of the particular location in question. You know, you have your science building, the library, but then we have another unnamed building, and then the observatory with another unnamed building over here. So it definitely looks more like a kind of a top-down view of the city. Like I said, still not 100% sold on the modular nature of it, but that's what playing the game is for. All right, we've then got the Merchant District, more connector pieces, more health and sanity tokens. South side. It's got that kind of creepy nighttime look to it. North side. Lots more tokens down here. Money tokens. Someone gets $1. That's an inside joke. Uptown. So yeah, I really, really like this new art. Even though I will admit I'm not 100% excited, because I still have more fond memories of the second edition. I'm definitely curious to give this a try. All right, and then this is a card holder that you have to assemble. That'll be very interesting to see how it stores. Just because anytime you have to build something, it doesn't necessarily store in the box very well. So, all right, we then have dice and pawn stands. I mean, these are fairly standard, normal, no big deal. And the dice got some rounded corners as opposed to the sharp corners on my second edition, but they are plain 6-sided dice. Nothing fancy or exciting there. All right. I want to get these out first. All right, so these are our character cards. All right, so this I can already see some major differences between second and third edition. In second and third edition, all of the skills were, for lack of a better way to put it, modular. So like you had fixed sanity and health, but then all of your skills, there were markers where you could increase or decrease the value of the skills. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but we'll say it was luck and logic. And so as you increased your luck, your logic would decrease. And so you had to adjust and be careful about how you adjust those every turn. Obviously, it's a little bit more bookkeeping, but I liked it. All right, so we've got a name. Here, let's zoom the camera in a bit. All right, so we've got the name, just a description of who they are. Looks like we've got a couple of special abilities. And then all of the character stats: lore, influence, observation, strength, and will. And then on the back of the character, so we get a little bit of story of the character. And so this is good. So primary role and secondary role. So basically, what kind of things they should be doing in the game. In second edition, you really didn't get that. You just had your character, and you all work together to try and decide, okay, well, you go over here and do this, you go over here and do that. This at least gives you an idea of what your character should be doing. Now, since this is a cooperative game, if you aren't familiar with those types, cooperative games do have a tendency to be subject to a sort of alpha gamer mentality. The one person who knows the game and is basically going to sort of run it and control it for everyone. Everyone else is kind of sitting there just rolling their dice, but less of an impact. Now, different groups obviously will play in different ways, but that is very common to see. So at least this, they are trying to mitigate that by giving a player, hey, here are things that you should be doing. And so that player is going to automatically have an idea and different things that they're going to be thinking about doing as they get into it. So that's actually a really cool thing to see, and I'm very interested in that. So then we've got Calvin Wright. We've also, down here we've also got starting possessions. Interesting that there's an optional one, so maybe that's to sort of make, we'll call it an easy mode for the game. I don't know, I haven't read the rules yet, obviously. But then we do have a mix of characters, races, genders. So Arkham's always been, in my opinion, pretty diverse. They've had, not that I think that's necessarily mandatory for a game, but I think they've still done it very, very well. And this is a game or second edition is going on 20 years old now. So, they're definitely continuing that. Now, I don't recognize any of the names, so these do look like new characters. Definitely adapted from the older characters because, at least the art looks the same, but the names definitely seem different to me, so that's interesting. Let's see. But again, really good art. I like what they're doing here. And sorry for just kind of zipping through the rest of these. All right, so those are the characters. Then we get to our... Okay, so these are, I'm going to guess, the scenario cards. So that's one of the big changes that kind of turned me off to third edition, is the fact that they went more scenario-based as opposed to just leaving it open. But it probably gives it a better, we'll call it flavor, in that each game is going to run a little bit differently, whereas in second edition, even though you would change out the old one, the game played exactly the same for the most part. There were little differences based on the old ones that you selected, but then this one, obviously, we get new maps, we get a little bit different, the Mythos Cup and the Monster Deck. So Interesting. All right, so I am generally curious now. I like I said, I got this because I enjoyed second. I wasn't planning on getting it. I really only got this because of the cost. The fact that I was able to essentially get it on clearance, which doesn't say a lot for the game itself, but you know, we shall see. 2022 is going to be interesting, and so who knows? All right, so then obviously that is one thing about Arkham Horrors. It has, at least since I've been playing, it has had tons of cards that represent, monsters, status effects. Again, lots of art, lots of really good art. I definitely, Fantasy Flight Games, at a bare minimum doesn't skimp on, putting good art in the game, and I think that's fantastic. All right. So I'm not going to go through all of these. I mean, it's just, again, it's items, status cards, monsters, so all pretty standard, just to give you an idea of what's in here, what the art looks like. All right. Let's see. Okay, so then these are going to be location cards. It's like we got 2 bags of these, so I'm just going to go through one real quick. So on the back, you're going to have, basically a little mini deck based on the location. And then each location has 3 different areas. So then depending on which area you're in, it's like this card is for the Merchant District. So we have the River Docks, the TikTok Club, and the Unvisited Isle. North side, we've got the Arkham Advertiser, the Curiosity Shop, and the train station. So, obviously we've got all the different art for all the different locations. Then looks like we got some player reference cards. And I'll be honest, I don't know what most of this is. These look like Otherworld event kind of cards. So overall, initial thoughts, my initial thoughts is I don't know what to expect. This could be fantastic and could completely change my opinion on second edition. But I'll admit I'm willing to give it a try. I think, well, at least back when I started collecting games, Fantasy Flight was always known for quality. Obviously there have been some changes to the company, to leadership. They were sold to Asmodee a few years ago. So, who knows? It might not necessarily be the same, but, I'm at least willing to give it a try, and I'm very curious. So, I hope you enjoyed that look at Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. I will hopefully be able to get a review up, not too long, but keep an eye on this channel. If you like what I'm doing, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you can see when I do post a review of the game. Typically, board game content will come out on Tuesdays. So, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.